Marina Hoffman never imagined that a simple comment under a travel photo would change her life forever. At 29, the office clerk from Düsseldorf had long since given up on finding true love. Her last relationship had ended a year and a half ago, when her boyfriend at the time admitted that he was seeing 2 other women at the same time. Since then, Marina had focused on her work, her small apartment in Oberkassel, and occasional meetings with her best friend Sabine Richter, an architect she had known since school. On that February evening, Marina sat on her sofa, wrapped in a thick blanket, while outside the rain pelted against the window panes. She scrolled through Instagram absent-mindedly, seeing the usual pictures of happy couples, perfect vacations, and flawless lives. Then she stopped at a photo. It showed the turquoise ocean of Cancún, palm trees swaying in the wind, and a white sandy beach stretching to the horizon. The picture had been posted by a profile called Travel with Diego. Marina clicked on the profile. The photos showed an attractive man in his mid-30s with dark brown hair, a well-groomed beard, and warm brown eyes. He stood in front of various landmarks in Mexico, smiling at the camera, sometimes alone, sometimes with local children or elderly people. The captions were written in Spanish and English, sometimes also in German. One photo showed him at a charity event for street children in Playa del Carmen. Another showed him diving off the coast of Cozumel. Without thinking twice, Marina commented on the Cancun photo in German. "It looks like paradise. I've been dreaming of traveling there forever." She put her phone aside and didn't think any more about it. She often wrote comments like this without ever expecting a reply. But the next morning, as Marina was riding the tram to work, her phone vibrated. A message in perfect German. "Hello, Marina. Thank you for your comment. Cancun is truly magical, especially if you know the hidden corners that aren't in every travel guide. If you ever come there, I'd be happy to show you the most beautiful places. Best regards, Diego." Marina read the message 3 times. The tone was friendly, but not pushy. She clicked on his profile again. Diego Ruiz Navarro, it said. Resident of Cancun, Mexico, tour guide and photographer. The biography was written in 3 languages and included a link to a professional-looking website offering tours. Sabine, whom Marina told about it that same evening, was skeptical at first. Men who write to complete strangers on Instagram, that sounds like a classic catfish, or a guy who writes to dozens of women at the same time. They sat in their favorite cafe in the old town, drinking cappuccino and sharing a piece of cheesecake. "But he didn't just write," Marina defended. "He replied to my comment. That's a difference. And his whole page looks legitimate. He has over 3,000 followers, hundreds of comments from people all over the world." "Still," Sabine warned, stirring her coffee thoughtfully, "be careful. Men from the internet can pretend to be anything. I'm not saying you shouldn't reply to him, but take your time. Get to know him before you start imagining things." Marina nodded, even though she was already secretly imagining things. She wrote back to Diego, thanked him for his offer, and asked a few polite questions about his work as a tour guide. His reply came less than 2 hours later. He said he was originally from Mexico City, but had moved to Cancun 5 years ago to escape the hectic city life. He'd studied tourism, was now self-employed, and loved showing people the hidden treasures of the Yucatan Peninsula, away from the crowded tourist routes. In the weeks that followed, Marina and Diego developed an intense exchange. They wrote to each other every day, first only on Instagram, then they switched to WhatsApp. Diego sent her photos of his everyday life, jogging on the beach in the morning, preparing traditional Mexican dishes in his kitchen, working with tourist groups. He asked questions about her life in Germany, wanted to know what it was like to live in a city like Düsseldorf, what she liked about her work, what her dreams were. "He remembers everything I tell him," Marina gushed to Sabine one evening. "Last week, I casually mentioned that I used to love collecting shells as a child. Today, he sent me a photo of a rare shell he found on the beach and wrote that he was saving it for me. Sabine bit her lip. That's sweet, Marina, really. But don't you think it's all happening a bit fast? You've known each other for, what, 3 weeks? 4, Marina corrected her. And sometimes you just know when it feels right. He's different from the guys here. He's attentive, interested, cultured. Did you know he speaks fluent Spanish, English and German, and he understands French too? That's impressive, Sabine admitted. But still, Marina, he lives on another continent. What's your plan? What's his plan? Marina didn't have an answer. Not yet. But she didn't want to think about it. Diego's messages had become the highlight of her days. After a hard day at the office, after commuting on crowded trams, after a lonely dinner in her apartment, his words were like a window into another world. A world full of sun, warmth, adventure, and possibilities. After 6 weeks, Diego suggested they make a video call. Marina was nervous. She spent an hour getting ready, changed her top 3 times, and arranged the background in her living room so that it looked neat but not sterile. When the video finally started and Diego's face appeared on her screen, her heart felt like it was going to jump out of her chest. He was even more attractive in motion. His voice was warm and melodic, with a slight Spanish accent that charmingly colored his German words. He was sitting on a terrace, and behind him Marina could see the sea shimmering, the setting sun bathing everything in golden light. "Marina," he said and smiled, "it's so nice to finally see you. You're even more beautiful than I imagined." She blushed. "Thank you. You too. I mean, your background is incredible. The sea, the sunset. It looks like something out of a movie." "This is reality here," Diego replied gently. "I can see this every evening. And every time I think how wonderful it would be to share it with someone who really appreciates it." They talked for almost 2 hours. Diego told her about his family, his father, who had worked as a teacher, his mother, who had sadly passed away 3 years ago. He spoke openly about the pain of this loss, about the emptiness she had left behind. Marina felt incredibly close to him at that moment. She told him about her own family, her parents who lived in a small village in the Bergisches land, her older brother who had moved to Munich and whom she hardly ever saw anymore. "Sometimes I feel so alone," Marina confessed, and she was surprised at how easily the words came out. "Everyone around me seems to have their lives under control, their partners, their plans, and I feel like I'm treading water." "You're not treading water," Diego said firmly. "You're waiting. There's a difference. Sometimes you have to wait until life opens the right door for you, and maybe," he paused, his gaze intensifying, "maybe that door is about to open." Marina felt her stomach tighten, a mixture of excitement and fear. After the conversation, she lay awake in bed for a long time, staring at the ceiling. Sabine's warning words echoed in her head, but they were drowned out by Diego's voice, by the way he had looked at her, by the possibility that something real could actually develop. In the weeks that followed, the video calls became routine. Sometimes they talked late at night, when Marina was already in bed and Diego was just starting his day. Sometimes he called her during his lunch break, showing her his surroundings with his cell phone camera. The market where he shopped, the small streets with colorful houses, children playing. Once he took her on a virtual tour of a Mayan ruin, filming the impressive pyramids and explaining the history of the ancient civilization with a passion that was contagious. "You should come here," he said one evening in April. They had just been talking about their vacation plans. Marina had mentioned that she could take time off in the summer, but didn't know where to go yet. "To Cancún?" she asked, even though her heart was already beating faster. "Yes, I mean it, Marina. I would love to show you the places I've told you about, and I would like to get to know you, really get to know you, not just through a screen." His voice softened. "I know this may sound crazy, and you don't have to feel any pressure. but I can't deny how I feel about you. These months with you mean so much to me." Marina didn't know what to say. Part of her wanted to agree immediately, book flights, pack her bags. Another part, the cautious, sensible voice that sounded suspiciously like Sabine, whispered warnings. "I need to think about it," she finally said. "It's a big step." "Of course." Diego nodded understandingly. "Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere, but know that my invitation is sincere. If you come, you won't have to worry about anything. I'll organize everything. You can stay in a hotel if you prefer, or I can get you a vacation rental. I just want you to feel safe and comfortable." Marina couldn't stop thinking about the conversation. She talked to Sabine about it, who, as expected, reacted skeptically. "Marina, you don't really know this man, video calls or not. What if he's not who he says he is? What if it's all a scam?" "A scam for what?" Marina asked defensively. "I don't have much money. I'm not a rich heiress. What could he want from me?" "I don't know," Sabine admitted. "But scammers have all kinds of motives. Maybe it's identity theft. Maybe it's something to do with visas. Or maybe he's married and just looking for a change." "He's not married," Marina said firmly. "He told me everything about his life, his family, his work. I even looked him up online. His tour company is registered. There are reviews from customers from different countries. He's real, Sabine." Sabine sighed. "Okay. If you really want to go, then go. But please promise me a few things. First, stay in your own hotel, not with him. Second, send me constant updates on where you are and who you're with. Third, if anything feels strange, even the smallest thing, come back immediately. Understood?" Marina hugged her friend. "Understood. Thank you for caring. But I really think this could be a good thing. I haven't felt anything that feels right in years." The decision was made. Marina booked a flight for the end of June, 2 weeks in Cancún. She spoke to her boss, got her vacation approved, and started writing lists of what she needed to pack. Diego was overjoyed when she told him. He promised to prepare everything, show her the most beautiful places, and introduce her to authentic Mexican culture, far away from the tourist traps. "It will be the best time of your life," he swore. "I promise you." In the weeks before her departure, their contact intensified even further. Diego sent her suggestions for activities and asked about her preferences and fears. When Marina mentioned that she wasn't a particularly good swimmer, he immediately reassured her. "We'll only do what you feel comfortable with. There's so much to see on land. The ruins, the cenotes, the markets, the villages, you'll love it." Once, about a week before her departure, Diego asked her something that made her pause for a moment. "Marina, can I ask you something personal? Have you told anyone in your family or friends about me, about your trip?" "Of course," Marina replied. "Sabine knows everything, and my parents know I'm flying to Mexico. Why do you ask?" "No reason," he said quickly. "I just want to make sure you feel safe, that people know where you are. That's important when you're traveling alone to a foreign country." It was a reasonable explanation, but something about the way he said it made Marina hesitate for a moment. But then Diego smiled again, and the moment passed. The evening before her flight, Marina sat on her bed surrounded by packed suitcases. Her phone vibrated, a message from Diego. "This time tomorrow you'll be here. I can't wait to finally hold you in my arms. Sleep well, my beauty. See you tomorrow." Marina smiled and pressed the phone to her chest. Sabine's words of warning were far away. The anticipation was overwhelming. She imagined what it would be like to stand on the beach, feel the sun on her skin, finally see Diego in real life, touch him. She had no idea that this flight would take her not only to another country, but into a nightmare from which there would be no easy awakening. She had no idea that the message she had just read came from a man whose name was not Diego and whose intentions were anything but romantic. And she had no idea that the paradise beach of Cancun would become a place where her worst fears would come true. But all that lay ahead of her, hidden behind the veil of hope and longing for something real, in a world that often felt so cold and empty. Marina fell asleep with a smile on her lips and dreams of turquoise water in her head. The flight from Düsseldorf to Cancun took over 12 hours with a stopover in Mexico City. Marina hardly slept. The mixture of excitement and nervousness was too great. She had promised Sabine to contact her immediately upon arrival, and her friend had urged her at least 15 times to be careful and listen to her gut feeling. When the plane finally landed at Cancun International Airport, Marina felt her heart beating in her throat. The humid heat hit her like a wall as she stepped outside from the air-conditioned terminal. There were people everywhere, taxi drivers shouting offers, families hugging each other, tourists in sunglasses and Hawaiian shirts streaming toward the shuttle buses. Marina pushed her suitcase through the crowd, looking for Diego. He had written that he would pick her up at the exit with a sign with her name on it. Her eyes scanned the waiting crowd, and then she saw him. Diego stood at the edge of the crowd, tall and tanned, just like in the photos. He was wearing a white linen shirt and dark jeans, his hair slightly longer than in the videos. Instead of a sign, he was holding a bouquet of bright red roses. When their eyes met, a smile spread across his face. "Marina," he said, his voice as warm as it had been on the phone. He walked toward her, and before she could say anything, he pulled her into a tight embrace. The scent of his aftershave mingled with the smell of roses. "You're really here. I can hardly believe it." "Me neither," Marina whispered, feeling her tension melt away. He was real. He was here. Everything was fine. They drove through the wide streets of Cancun in his car, an older Toyota. Diego showed her the sights, told stories about the city, and made jokes about the chaotic traffic rules. Marina looked out the window and saw palm trees, colorful buildings, and street vendors selling fruit and handicrafts. "Your hotel is right in the hotel zone," Diego explained. "Beach view, pool, everything you need. I thought you might want to rest today, after the long flight. Tomorrow we can really get started." The hotel was impressive, a modern complex with marble floors and friendly staff. Diego accompanied her to the reception desk and helped her check in, although his Spanish wasn't really necessary as the staff spoke fluent English. When Marina got her room key, Diego turned to her. "Rest, take a shower, relax. I'll pick you up at 7 for dinner. I know a wonderful restaurant right on the beach. Is that okay?" "That's perfect," Marina replied, and she meant it. Her room was on the 6th floor, with a view of the Caribbean Sea. Marina stood on the balcony and breathed in the salty air. The water shimmered in countless shades of turquoise, and the white sand seemed to glow. It was exactly as she had imagined it. She sent Sabine a message. "I've arrived. The hotel is great. Diego is nice. And everything seems normal. I'll be in touch later." The reply came immediately. "Good. Stay alert. Have fun, but be careful." Marina took a shower, put on a light summer dress, and waited for Diego. At 7 o'clock sharp, there was a knock at her door. The restaurant he took her to was actually right on the beach, with tables set up in the sand, torches lighting the way, and the sound of the waves providing a soothing backdrop. "This is incredible," Marina said, meaning every word. Diego ordered for both of them. A selection of traditional Mexican dishes, ceviche, tacos with fresh fish, grilled shrimp. He told stories, made her laugh, asked her opinion on everything. It felt easy, natural, as if they had known each other forever. "I'm so glad you're here," Diego said at one point, reaching across the table to take her hand. His fingers were warm, his touch gentle. "The last few months with you have been special, but this, really seeing you, Talking to you without a screen between us is even better than I had hoped." Marina blushed. "For me too." After dinner they walked along the beach. The moon was high in the sky, casting a silvery light on the water. Diego took her hand, and Marina let him. Everything felt right, like in a movie, like in a dream. "Tomorrow I'll show you something very special," Diego said suddenly. "A place that few tourists know about. A hidden stretch of beach away from the big hotels. It's quiet and peaceful there. You can really relax." "That sounds wonderful," Marina replied. What she didn't know was that this hidden beach would be the place where the nightmare would begin. The next morning, Diego picked Marina up at 9 o'clock. He seemed relaxed, wearing shorts and a t-shirt, sunglasses on his head. There were already 2 cooler bags in the car filled with water, fruit and snacks. "For our day at the beach," he explained cheerfully. They drove about 40 minutes south of Cancún, leaving the hotel zone and turning onto increasingly narrow roads. The large resorts disappeared, replaced by small villages, simple houses with corrugated iron roofs, children playing on the side of the road, dogs dozing in the sun. "Where exactly are we going?" Marina asked, as the paved road turned into a sandy dirt track. "I told you, a hidden place," Diego replied with a smile. "Trust me, it's worth it." Marina looked at her cell phone. The reception was getting weaker, only 1 bar left. She thought of Sabine's warning to always stay reachable, but then she saw Diego's relaxed face and pushed her concern aside. After another 10 minutes, Diego stopped at a deserted parking lot. There were no other cars, no tourists, no infrastructure. Just sand, palm trees, and the sound of the sea in the distance. "We have to walk a bit," Diego said, taking the cooler bags out of the car. "About 10 minutes, but it's worth it, trust me." They followed a narrow path through dense bushes. Marina stumbled over roots several times. The heat was oppressive. Sweat ran down her back. Then the path opened up and the beach lay before them. Diego had been right. It was breathtaking. A perfect bay with white sand, crystal clear water, and absolute silence. No people, no buildings, nothing but nature. "Wow," Marina whispered. "Did I promise too much?" Diego asked proudly. He spread out a large blanket in the shade of a palm tree and set down the cooler bags. "We can stay here all day. No one will disturb us." They swam in the warm water, sunbathed, and ate juicy mangoes and cool watermelon. Diego told her more about his life, about his childhood in Mexico City, about his mother's death. His voice became serious, almost sad. "After she died, I felt so lost," he said. "I had to get away, leave everything behind. That's why I moved here, to start over." "I understand," Marina said sympathetically, placing her hand on his. Around noon, Diego suggested exploring another part of the bay. "There are some interesting rock formations back there, perfect for photos." They walked along the water, the sea to their left, dense jungle to their right. The further they went, the more isolated it became. Marina looked back. Her blanket was barely visible. "Diego, maybe we should turn back," she said. "It's getting pretty lonely here." "Just a little further," he urged. His voice sounded different, firmer. "The rocks are just ahead." And there they were. Large grey stones rose out of the sand, forming a kind of natural cave. Diego went inside and motioned for Marina to follow him. She hesitated, but then followed him. Inside, it was cooler, dimly lit. The sound of the sea was muffled. Diego turned to her, and suddenly his smile was gone. "Marina," he said in a voice she didn't recognize, "we need to talk." "About what?" she asked, confused. "About us, about your expectations." He moved closer. "You came here thinking this would be a romantic vacation story, right? But I need more from you." Marina felt her heart beat faster. "What do you mean?" "I have debts, Marina. a lot of debts. My tour company isn't doing well. I need money. His eyes had turned cold. And you're going to help me? Oh, I don't understand, Marina stammered, backing away. Oh, you'll understand. Diego pulled out his cell phone. We're going to record a few videos together. You'll tell your family that you've fallen in love with me, that you want to stay here, and then they'll send you money for your new life here. Marina stared at him in disbelief. You can't be serious. Yes, I am, and if you don't cooperate, his voice turned icy, no one will find you here. This beach isn't on any tourist map. No one knows where you are. At that moment, Marina realized that Sabine had been right. It had all been a lie. Marina backed away until her back touched the cool rock wall. Her mind raced, searching for a way out. Diego, please, you don't have to do this. If you need money, we can talk about it, but not like this. Talk about it, he laughed bitterly. I've invested in you for months, hours of conversation, compliments, false feelings. You think that was for fun? You were perfect, Marina. Lonely, desperate for love, naive enough to trust a stranger from the internet. The words hit her like blows. Every conversation they had shared, every seemingly intimate revelation had been calculated. Marina felt nausea rising within her. How many? She asked, her voice trembling. How many women have you done this to? Diego shrugged. You're the fourth this year. The others quickly understood how the game works. A German woman like you, she squeezed 32,000 euros out of her family, enough to pay off my debts to the wrong people. I'm not going to get you any money, Marina said with more courage than she felt. And you can't keep me here. People know I'm traveling with you. Really? Diego raised an eyebrow. Your friend Sabine? She knows you're traveling with Diego. But you know what's funny? Diego Ruiz Navarro doesn't exist. The profile, the website, the tour company, it's all fake. The man you're with here is called Javier Mendoza, and I have more false identities than you can imagine. Marina felt her knees give way. She slid down the rock face until she was sitting on the sand. This couldn't be real. It had to be a nightmare. Here's what's going to happen now, Javier said, crouching down in front of her. You're going to take your cell phone and send a voice message to Sabine. You're going to tell her that you've fallen head over heels in love, that everything is wonderful. Then you're going to record a video for your parents. You found your true love here. You want to stay here. You need money for an apartment, for a new start. Never, Marina whispered. Javier sighed dramatically. I was hoping you would be reasonable. He stood up, walked to the cave opening and shouted something in Spanish. Seconds later, a second man appeared, broad-shouldered, with a scar above his left eye. This is Carlos, Javier introduced him. He's not as patient as I am. Carlos has ways of getting people to cooperate that are very unpleasant. The big man grinned and pulled a knife from his pocket, playing with it in his hands. Marina began to tremble. This was no longer just blackmail. It was life-threatening. Okay, she squeezed out. Okay, I'll do it. Good. Javier handed her the cell phone. Start with Sabine. And Marina, if you try to slip in a warning, say anything suspicious, Carlos will be very unhappy. And believe me, you don't want to make Carlos unhappy. With trembling hands, Marina took the phone. She opened WhatsApp and saw Sabine's last message. How's it going? Get in touch. She pressed the record button. Hey Sabine, she began, trying to keep her voice steady. Sorry I didn't get in touch sooner. Everything here is incredible. Diego is even more wonderful than I thought. We had a perfect day at the beach. I think I've really fallen in love. I'll be in touch soon, I promise. She sent the message and felt tears running down her cheeks. She had just thrown away her last chance at salvation. Very good, Javier praised her. See, you can do it. Now, the video for your parents. Marina recorded herself telling the story Javier dictated to her. About her great love, her desire to stay, her request for financial support. Every word felt like poison. When she was done, Javier took the phone back. That wasn't so hard. Now we're going to go back to the car, and you're going to act like everything is fine. If you try to run away or call for help, Carlos will catch up with you long before you get anywhere, understood? Marina nodded silently. What else could she do? They didn't drive back to the hotel. Instead, Javier turned onto another road, even further away from civilization. Marina sat in the back seat, Carlos next to her, his massive presence a constant reminder that escape was impossible. After 30 minutes, they stopped in front of a dilapidated house surrounded by overgrown gardens and high walls. The paint was peeling off the walls, and a rusty gate squeaked as Javier opened it. "Welcome to your new home," he said cynically. "Until your family pays, you'll stay here." The interior was sparsely furnished. An old table, 2 plastic chairs, a worn-out couch. In the corner stood a cage, large enough for a human being. Marina stared at it in horror. "That's not necessary," Javier said, following her gaze, "as long as you cooperate. But if you get any stupid ideas—" He led her into a small room at the back of the house. A bed, a dresser, barred windows. The door had a heavy padlock on the outside. "You'll get food and water 3 times a day. There's a bathroom next door. Carlos will be here, so don't even try to cause trouble." Javier threw her cell phone on the bed. "You'll send a message to Sabine every day, cheerful, in love, happy, and you'll call your parents when they get in touch. Tell them how badly you need the money." "My parents don't have much," Marina whispered. "They're retired. They live on their pension." "Then they'll just have to take out a loan," Javier shrugged. "That's not my problem. You have a week. If there's 15,000 euros in my account by then, I'll let you go. And if not," his eyes darkened, "then we'll find other ways to make money from you. Believe me, you don't want to know what they are." The door closed, the lock clicked. Marina was alone. She sank onto the bed, her body shaking uncontrollably. How could she have been so blind? All the warning signs had been there. Sabine's concerns, the perfect facade, the isolation. She reached for her cell phone. No reception. Of course not. But it was connected to the house's Wi-Fi. Maybe she could... No. Carlos would monitor everything, every message, every call. Hours passed. Through the barred window, Marina watched the sun set, bathing the sky in orange and pink. The beauty felt like mockery. In the evening, Carlos brought her a plate of rice and beans. He didn't say a word, just set the plate down and disappeared again. Marina didn't touch the food. Her stomach was too knotted with fear. She lay awake at night, listening to voices coming from the main room. Javier and Carlos were speaking Spanish, too fast for her to understand much, but she recognized one word over and over again. Policía. Were they talking about the police? Did they have contacts there? Were they being protected? The thought made her blood run cold. If even the police were corrupt, she didn't stand a chance. The next morning, Javier forced her to call her mother. "Marina, darling, how are you?" her mother asked worriedly. "Sabine told us that you met a man." With Javier standing next to her, playing with the knife in his hand, Marina told the story. The great love, the chance for a new life, the urgent request for money. Her mother sounded confused, uncertain. 15,000 euros, Marina. That's so much. We have to talk to the bank, apply for a loan. That will take time." "Please, Mom," Marina pleaded, and the tears in her voice were real. "Please, I need this. It's important." After the conversation, she threw up in the bathroom. She had forced her own parents into debt to pay criminals. The self-loathing was overwhelming. 3 days passed in this hell. Every day the same lies, the same forced messages. Sabine seemed unaware, sending back cheerful emojis, happy for her friend. On the 4th night, Marina heard something unusual. Screams. A female voice calling for help in English. Then a dull thud. Silence. Marina pressed her ear against the door. Heavy footsteps, muffled voices. Was there someone else there? Another victim? The next morning she saw it. When Carlos brought her breakfast, she caught a glimpse of the hallway, another door also locked, and behind it she heard soft sobbing. She wasn't alone. On the fifth night, Carlos made a mistake. He had drunk too much. Marina heard him arguing with Javier, bottles clinking. Around midnight, it grew quiet. She ventured to the door, pressing carefully against the wood. To her surprise, it gave way. The lock hadn't engaged properly. Her heart was pounding as she stepped into the hallway. In the dim moonlight, she saw the other door. She tried the handle. Locked. "Hello?" she whispered. "Is anyone there?" A frightened gasp, then a soft voice with an American accent. "Who are you?" "Marina, I'm trapped too. What's your name?" "Jennifer, are you real? Please tell me this is real." "How long have you been here?" Marina asked desperately. 2 weeks. They took everything from me. My family already paid, but they won't let me go. They say they need more." Marina felt an icy clarity. They would never let them go. No matter how much money came in, they knew too much, had seen their faces. This could only end one way. "We have to get out of here," Marina whispered. "Together. Now." She found an old crowbar in the kitchen, hidden behind a cupboard. With trembling hands, she pried open Jennifer's lock. The metal squeaked in protest, but finally gave way. Jennifer was in her mid-20s, emaciated, with bruises on her face. "The back door," she whispered. "I saw Carlos use it. It leads to the garden." They crept through the dark house. Loud snoring came from the living room. Javier and Carlos lay unconscious on the couch, surrounded by empty beer bottles and cigarette butts. The back door was unlocked. It opened with a soft creak. The garden was overgrown, the wall high, but there was an old tree whose branches hung over the wall. "Can you climb?" Marina asked. Jennifer nodded, even though her hands were shaking. They helped each other climb the tree, ignoring the scrapes and cuts. When they were over the wall and fell into a thicket of bushes on the other side, Marina allowed herself to hope for the first time. They ran. Without a plan, without direction, just away from the house of horror. The night was hot, insects buzzed, a dog howled somewhere. After 10 minutes, they reached a paved road. "There," Jennifer gasped, pointing to lights in the distance. "A village. We have to go to the police." But Marina remembered the conversations. "Policia." Corruption. "No," she said, "not the local police. We need the federal police. Tourism authorities, someone who's not on Javier's payroll." They reached the village, a sleepy little place with a gas station. The night watchman, an elderly man, was startled when he saw the 2 ragged women. Marina spoke in broken Spanish, then in English. "Please help us. Embassy, German embassy, American embassy." The man understood enough. He called someone, speaking quickly and urgently. 20 minutes later, a state police patrol car arrived, not the local police. The officers took them to the station in Playa del Carmen, a larger city. Representatives from both embassies were already waiting there. Marina told them everything, showed them the forced messages, described the house, and gave the names. Within hours, the police struck. Javier and Carlos were arrested while still asleep. In the house, investigators found evidence of at least 8 other victims, passports, personal belongings, and bank details. Marina sat in a sterile interrogation room, a blanket around her shoulders, and gave her statement. An officer showed her photos. "Do you know these men?" "They were Javier and Carlos, but also others. A whole network." "You did the right thing," said the consul from the German embassy gently. "You not only saved yourself, but probably dozens of future victims." 2 days later, Marina was on a plane back to Germany. Jennifer flew back to Texas. They had exchanged numbers and promised to stay in touch, even though they both knew they would only remind each other of the trauma. Sabine picked Marina up from the airport. When she saw her friend Marina broke down, "You were right," she sobbed. "You were right all along." Sabine held her tight. "The important thing is that you survived." Months later, in a courtroom in Cancún, Javier Mendoza was sentenced to 25 years in prison. Carlos got 20. Their statements led to further arrests: a corrupt police officer, 2 accomplices. Marina gave an interview for a German news program, warning about romance scams, about men on the internet who are too perfect, about isolation. "Trust your gut," she said to the camera. "If something is too good to be true, it usually is. And if someone wants to isolate you from your friends and family, that's not a sign of love. It's a sign of danger." She would carry the scars forever, both physical and emotional. But she had survived. And she had helped others by raising her voice. Paradise had turned into hell, but Marina had managed to return, and this time she would never trust so blindly again.